All right, well, good morning, everybody. Happy to see you all again. Some of you haven't seen for a while, and we're happy you're here. And today I'm going to be talking about acceptance and responsibility. Just acceptance of where we at in our life, who we are, and then what do we do with who we are and where we're at in life. But I want to start with Psalm 139. This is King David's Psalms. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night. Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God! How vast is the sum of them! If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake, and I am still with you. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. So this is to set the stage. For myself, I find myself in kind of a new place that I've never been before. So the last 5 years, the last 6 months, I haven't been running my school. But it takes me a while to get used to things. So the last 5 years, I've been running a school and busy with a lot of things. And not that I haven't spent time with my kids or done things with my kids, but I feel a lot of the responsibility of making sure that they get what they need has fallen on Mike and honestly Dr. Hentrick, a great grandpa, helping us out in so many ways. And it's been a long time since I've had just a lot more significant time to be a part of my kids' life. I mean, I was with them in school, but it's different from being just with them, right, in their daily life. And the last time that I was with them so much was 5 years ago. My oldest were 12, and my youngest was 5. And I guess I kind of pictured that when I finished with a school that I would kind of go back to having the same sort of relationship with them. People are laughing at me. I don't know. I didn't have any other way to like interact with them. So, but I quickly realized that was not the case anymore. I find myself in a place that I've never been before, watching my kids growing up and turning into adults, becoming young men and women, In a lot of ways, I'm just filled with pride and excitement for them. This year, two of my kids are going to public high school. Yesterday, we went to like a basketball team beginning of the year barbecue and got to meet the coaches and the parents. I'm like, what's going on? And I have a lot of nostalgia, you know. We have on our TV at home, we have I don't know if you guys might have this, but the Google Home kind of cycles through our family photos. And I see pictures show up of when they were like 4 and 2. And every time I see them, I'm just like, Mom. And so there's also a little bit of sadness. And they haven't even graduated or left the house yet. I know a lot of you parents are like, well, just wait. But I can see it coming, you know, like it's close enough now where I can see it coming. And the reality is there's just so much less of me telling them what to do, or this is what we're going to do today. And I'm just going to you're going to tag along. Like we're going to go grocery shopping. So I'm going to buckle you all into your car seats and, take you along with me. It doesn't happen anymore. There's a lot less of me doing things for them. A lot more of me just kind of waiting on the sidelines and until they tell me they need a ride somewhere. Or sometimes they need help weighing their options, but it's not me making decisions for them anymore. It's them making their choices and me trying to help them see pros and cons, and then supporting them in whatever decisions they make. This reminds me a lot of when I was actually starting the school. The founder of Acton Academy would say that there comes a certain point in teenagers' lives where it doesn't really matter what you say anymore. Some people know what I'm talking about. In a lot of ways, you're not the central person in their life anymore. You are important, but you're not like the person. At least not like when they were babies or small children. You can try to surround your children with good mentors and good friends, but what you say just doesn't have much weight. So what do you do at that point? He was saying the only thing you can do is to be the best version of yourself as a parent. The only thing you can do is to model what is appropriate relationships. What is true love? What does integrity look like? Exemplify your values. Whatever you want them to do, you can't tell them to do it anymore. You have to do it first. And I remember reading that and being like, that makes a lot of sense. But that was conceptual 5 years ago. And now it's a reality. And of course, that's always should be the goal, to model what you want for your kids. I feel like we as parents intuitively know if we want them to have integrity, we should have integrity. If we want them to be people of generosity, then we should show generosity. But what I'm getting at is there's a certain point where that's the only thing left that you can do. So this leads me to the topic of acceptance of where we are and what our role is for where we are right now. And it makes me think of this part from David's psalm. Just like we can't hide from God and who we really are, we also can't hide from our children or our spouses and our family. It's an opportunity to examine ourselves, whatever our reality happens to be, and then take responsibility for it. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. So I feel like this is the part that calls us to action, right? If there's something in me, when I'm being honest with myself, when I can't use my words to put up a facade or tell people what to do, then what is there left in me that I can offer? And it usually has to do with action. We have to work with where we're at. So this reminds me, actually, this is not the first time in my life where I feel like it's not what I was expecting, right? But it's where I'm at, and this is what I've got to work with. But actually, we go through this so many different times in our life, don't we? Right? There's many times where we realize this is my reality. This is a situation that I'm in. I can rail against it, or I can blame somebody else because I'm here. And then we find ourselves still in that situation and just angry. Or we can take responsibility and do something with it, take growth out of it, become something better. So I know not all of you are in my exact situation right now with kids in high school, but I have a couple other examples that maybe you can resonate with, or maybe will spark some memories for you, or might help you to realize where you're at right now. I remember one of these times in my life where I was in a certain situation, couldn't really change it, I just need to work with what I have, where I'm at, was when I was on my missions program. For any of you who have done what we call like frontline mission, or basically becoming a full-time volunteer for the church, right, in Providence. Basically, it's kind of like joining the army. Like when you join the army, you give up, you're not a civilian anymore. Right? You give yourself to the government and the military to do with what they want. And it's very similar when you become a full-time mission person in the church. Right? You don't get to decide your own sleep schedule. You don't get to decide the foods that you want to eat. You don't get to decide who you spend your time with. You give up all those rights. And everybody at some point, multiple times for most people, find it very challenging. And of course, I could just leave. That's always an option. But it's not something I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be there. I wanted to dedicate time to God. I wanted to grow myself. But at the same time, I wasn't enjoying it. I wrote, it wasn't always fun. I'll edit that. Actually, I don't recall having very much fun at all. And a lot of the time I was struggling either with myself or other people. But I didn't want to leave. And if I wasn't going to leave, then I had to accept this is what I opted into. This is what it is. And there's pros and cons, and there's a reason for the way it is. And if I'm going to be here, I have to accept this is the schedule. These are the people. And God is going to work with me in this situation where I'm at for my good. And had to accept that trying to change the program or change other people wasn't going to have good outcomes for me. Only going to make me more frustrated. And then having an acceptance that whatever situation I'm in, if I come at it with a good attitude and doing my best, despite whoever's with me or whatever's going on around me, then there will be growth and there will be blessings waiting for me. And that is what I ultimately found. I have this quote from our true mother. Complaint and distrust will not get us far. Young people need to follow a virtuous path of sacrifice, service, and love. I feel like you really can't do both of those at the same time. They're kind of exclusive of each other. And it's easy for us to want to be able to be a virtuous person and blame other people for my problems, but it really doesn't work. I find that people who have gone through our missions program or many difficulties in life have to kind of pick between which one of these attitudes they're going to stick with. Everybody who joins faces challenges. It's just going to happen. The question is whether you find someone to blame for the challenges or taking responsibility, accepting them, and growing through them. Learning what there is to learn from them. And it's interesting to talk with people who've graduated from NGM or GPA or STF, and you can kind of really see where people landed in their processing of their experiences. Another experience I had was, the ladies' moms will relate with me, finding out I was pregnant with twins. This was not something I had expected. For one thing, I hadn't planned the pregnancy, but I definitely wasn't expecting, I hadn't even considered the possibility that I might have twins. Just discovering I was pregnant was a big deal. It was like I had to readjust everything in my mind and my life. Up until that point, it was like, this is what I'm going to do next. And then everything gets scrambled. School, work, all that stuff. And I had to learn about what pregnancy is and how do you get through it. And I was not somebody who had spent a lot of time with babies or small children. None. I had a little sister that I tried to avoid as much as possible. So I was completely unprepared. It was very intimidating for me. But then to find out I was having twins, I didn't even know where to begin with this. It was like I could, in order to steady yourself, you have to grab onto something. And I was like, I had nothing to grab onto. I was completely lost. I had to go through a process, and quickly, of accepting this is my situation. This is what is happening. And this is going to be my life from here on out. And then doing what I could in that situation to take responsibility. Learning and educating about myself about pregnancy and twins and all the possibilities and things that come with having twins. But even more importantly, to open my heart and to really not just accept it, but to embrace it. And I actually realized that this is a key for all of these situations, right? On my missions program, it's not just like, okay, this is logically my situation. I'm going to try to do my best and get the most out of it. No, there actually, more important was the embracing it with my heart, believing that there is love and goodness here. There's blessings here that I wouldn't have expected. I really believed that, having twins. I accepted it very quickly and became very excited about it. And it also helps me now to remember that not only do I need to accept my new role as a chauffeur, and not as that of guidance, but as a role model, but that not only do I need to accept that, but that I need to embrace it. And I'm grateful for the time of life that I'm in right now at this moment. Here's another quote from our true mother. You should not be self-centered. You need to put yourself aside. To do so, you first need to unite your mind and body, and thus begin working and acting on what you say. This is how you can achieve freedom and peace. Stop giving excuses and stop making up theories for not doing that. First, take dominion over your own selves. This is a little tough love from Mom here. But I feel like she's actually really getting at something deep here. Because how many times do we think we know what is best for somebody else or for ourselves? And our mind is kind of like there, but what we're doing isn't actually supporting that. I realize that I need to begin working and acting on what I say, especially since the things that I say don't carry much weight anymore. Something I find myself saying a lot these days to my kids is, all right, guys, let's take a break from the devices. Put down your phones until screen time. But you know what? If you have to say something a lot of times, it probably means that it's not really sinking in anyway, right? I tell them, like, this is a tool to help you achieve the things that you want in your life. It's not an escape from your life. And then I'm like, let's check what's going on in the world. It's actually been very challenging for me to not just say it and to do it. Because I recognize this is something really important for their development, and as they're establishing themselves, that they establish themselves as people with goals, right, and hobbies and real relationships. And it's hard for me to admit that I also, that's not my full reality for myself. So recently I've been deleting more apps. I'm trying to keep my knitting next to me. So I found myself the other day, I was like, all right, guys, let's take a break from the devices. And then I looked at my phone, and I was like, oh my gosh, I put down my phone and I picked up my knitting. Making squares for strings of the heart. But it's like, this is so clear for me. Me saying this means nothing if I am not being the model for it, right? But this is just like one small example, but it's very real and concrete. But even more importantly is, how am I approaching my relationships, right? How am I relating to my husband? How am I relating to my kids themselves? How do I react when I face setbacks and frustrations? What, if I set a goal, do they see me taking steps, like active steps towards that goal? Recently, oh my gosh, Mia started asking questions about the MR340, which, if you don't know, is a race, the longest nonstop paddle race in the world, that my sister and I have done twice. And she started asking me questions about it, so I answered them. And then the next day, she said she wanted to do it with me. To be honest, I've been waiting for this day. I've been wanting to do it again. And I say that, but the reality of me having to take all of the steps from where I am right now to where I need to be in order to do that is really intimidating. And so I had to be honest. At first I was like, are you sure, Mia? Like, let me have you read some articles about how challenging this race is. But she really wants to do it. So I realized, like, I said in words, I'm going to do this. I want to do this. But now I have to live it, right? I have to make the goals. I have to eat healthy. I have to exercise. All these things which I've kind of been neglecting for a while. But all of these things, more than what we say, the things that we do and how we react when it's raw, and we can't just kind of make a facade of what we think we look like to our kids. These are going to become the actual instruction manual for them, right? When they face their own frustrations, when they set their own goals. Not because they were told this is how it works, but because for them it's just natural. This is what you do with your spouse. This is how you show love. This is how you accomplish your goals. It's the only appropriate response. So, I know that those were 3 very specific examples that I took from my life, but I'm sure there are some times in your life where you can also remember when you were in a particular situation that might have been challenging, and I'm hoping that you also have memories of, like, this is how I accepted it and took responsibility for it. But even more importantly, if you're in a situation right now where maybe you feel, I wish it was different. I wish I didn't feel so stuck. I wish circumstances had worked out differently. That you can find where you fit, right? Where you can take responsibility. Maybe it's not all your fault. It doesn't matter. You can still take responsibility. But even more importantly than accepting and responsibility, I hope that you can find a way to embrace not only where you're at, but who you are. Just like the Psalm of David, right? He says, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways, right? God knows us. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. It's not like God sees us and only sees our good parts, right? God knows us completely. He knows our tendencies. He knows our struggles. And yet, David is saying, you are always with me. I cannot flee from your presence. You formed my inward parts. Where is it? Basically, you lift me up and you hold on to me with your right hand, right? Like, even knowing everything you know about me, God, you are with me and I trust you. And if you find in me any grievous ways, lead me in a way of everlasting. I feel like this is a prayer we can always pray to God, no matter where we are at, right? If our bed is in Sheol, or if we're out over the ocean, or if we ascend to heaven, right? We can trust that God is with us, that God is guiding us, and that can help us to embrace whatever situation we're in right now, to find gratitude in it, to take responsibility, not just because that's my 5% responsibility as a Mooney church member, but because we know God is working with us and filling in all the other parts that we can't control or can't see. So I'm going to finish there. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Parent, good morning. Thank you for such a beautiful Sunday morning. We can feel how much you love us through the changing of the seasons. We can feel the coolness creeping in. Fall is around the corner. And you show us love through all of creation. And you show us love through the people in our lives. You really work through our parents and our siblings and our spouses and our children and our community members to show us love and to guide us. Many times it's hard for us to really believe or accept that you are 100% with us all the time, but King David grasped that, and he wrote it down, and it reminds us even today. Heavenly Parent, I pray that whatever situation each one of us is in right now, that we can stop resisting it, if that's what we're doing. That we can stop complaining about it, if that's what we're doing. And instead, we can accept, embrace, do what we can, not just with our words, but with our actions, knowing that you will guide us through it, out of it, and onward into all the other future situations we will face. But God, we know you're walking with us through all of it, and we thank you. And I offer this prayer in my name, Michael and Adonia Hentrick, of Blessed Chill Family. Amen, and adieu. Thank you.